the best things in life, including the best experiences, usually require a little bit of effort, and today is no different. I am hunkering down behind this little mound, trying to get out of the wind. We've got 35km/h winds gusting to 144 kilometers an hour. The rain is pretty moderate, but it's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier as the day progresses. It's going to be really heavy overnight and turning to snow in the morning. So we have got some fun conditions for our trip today. Oh, it's crazy. So the destination we're heading to is Anticrow Hut. This is a really cute little classic New Zealand hut. I'm out here for 24 hours, or it could be 48. You never know what might happen. So strap yourselves in and get ready. I better get back out there. I'll see you when I get to the hut. Welcome to Anticrow Hut. I don't want to bring any water inside, so I'm going to get changed into some dry clothes and then I'll take you inside and show you around. sorry, I'm not sure. It's probably really hard to hear me and there's probably water all over the lens. I'm going to go and cut a little bit of firewood because the wood that's in that woodshed is not the kind of wood that I would look for if I was looking for firewood. Some of it even has green leaves on the end of the branches. There's a lot of rotten stuff. I don't know why people chose that. Anyway, I know what I need, and it's standing deadwood. And I can see some there in the forest. So I'm going to cut down a few pieces and put them in the woodshed, both for me in the morning and for others who are coming after me. Although it's wet on the outside, you can hear how dry it is. It's amazing sitting here because you can watch the river rising. It's quite phenomenal. The catchment for this river is really large, so there's a huge amount of water coming down there. And it's a braided river, so usually there's just these thin little braids of the river. They're all joining up together and creating a massive torrent. the thunder shakes the whole hut. It's crazy. This is a nice, safe place to be watching the river from, but you wouldn't want to be trying to cross the streams and rivers that I came through earlier on today. Not now. I deliberately made sure that I came in on the track early enough so that the rain hadn't accumulated enough to make the rivers really high. But there is a chance that they're going to be too high to cross tomorrow. But I'm prepared. Rivers are okay if you're prepared and if you are willing to adapt your plans. So I've made sure that I've got enough food and clothing and all the things that I need so that if I have to stay a second night, I can. I've also brought with me a rain tarp, a bivvy bag, and what else? Oh yeah, pegs. and an inflatable air mat. Those things are my emergency shelter. So tomorrow I'm going to try and walk out, and if I find that the rivers are too high, I've got the option either to come back here or spend a night camping out and waiting for the rivers to go down. You probably saw as I was crossing one of those rivers, it was part of the Jordan Stream. So the Jordan Stream comes off the, I think it's the Beeley Range, and it's got a fairly big catchment area. It's just one valley, but it's a really big high valley. So I had a feeling the Jordan Stream would be a tricky one to cross, and it splits into two parts. And you noticed, well, I'll show you now, that as I was crossing, you could see new parts of the river forming as the water was coming down off the mountain. I got across no problem, but I could hear the rocks starting to roll in the river, and it was very discoloured. So there is no way anybody else a couple of hours after me would have been able to get through, which is nice because it means I'm going to get the hut to myself. But it also means that I need to give the river ample time to go down before I try and go out tomorrow. These fabulous Hunter's Element fleece-lined pants that I so carefully kept dry to change into when I got to the hut are now wet from traipsing around in the bush and cutting firewood. So I'm going to get dinner going, and while dinner's cooking I might actually, off camera, strip off and hang my pants up by the fire, see if I can dry them out a bit. See you in the morning. Good morning. I still have on my skirt. My trousers are almost dry. Almost. I'd like them to be nice and warm and dry before I put them on. This hut is so warm. I have my puffer jacket on, but I really don't need it. I literally could just be sitting here in this. It's so warm. I've only got my hat on because second day hat hair, not good. Oh, that's so nice.
What a treat this is for me. I was just thinking how amazing it is to wake up and be warm and then just be able to stand up and walk around, and I've got everything that I normally have just outside the window, and I've got all this warmth and comfort. This is a fantastic hut. I would hate to share it with 7 other people. If there was 8 people in here and, you know, maybe 6 of them were strangers. I mean, there's nothing wrong with strangers. Love strangers. Could be my next best friend, but all the same, it's quite awkward, isn't it, when you're in a really small space. This is like the size of a caravan. Can you imagine? 8 people in a caravan. You definitely want it to be a good day, because I think you maybe cook on this bench and then take your food outside, sit out there. And I'm guessing, you know, there's this fire pit barrel just out here with a grill on top. I bet you lots of people cook there. And then that little fire pit, they're made out of rocks that we saw down by the river. So people would spread out, they'd just come in here to sleep. There were originally 6 people booked in tonight. I'm guessing they cancelled their booking because of the weather. So the great thing with being able to book this hut and any other bookable huts in New Zealand is that you can look and see if anyone else is going to be there or how many people are going to be there. So what I tend to do is I either go to huts that are really run down and kind of character filled that some people wouldn't necessarily want to go to, and then I usually get them to myself, especially if it's raining. And the other thing I do is I just look at the bookable huts, and if you try and get a bookable hut to yourself in the summer, you're kidding yourself. But in the winter like this, they're often empty, and you can just go online and check. So usually what I do is I have a plan A, B and C for my trips, and plan A might be coming here, and then I just watch the booking, watch the booking, watch the booking. I didn't even book this right up until I was sitting in the car park. I thought I'll get to the car park and check there's no cars there, and then I'll go online, check no one's booked in, book, pay. $10 if you're wondering, 10 New Zealand dollars to stay here. The rain hasn't turned to snow as it was forecast to, and it is still raining lightly. It actually rained all night, so it was supposed to stop sort of around midnight, but it actually rained all night. I woke up a few times in the night and it was just raining, 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 raining. But it must be a whole lot lighter, especially up in the headwaters, because the river level has gone down. I don't know, I'll show you in a moment. There is a large log out there on the rocks, on the stones, and the water level was up to that last night. So it's definitely gone down. I don't think it will have gone down enough for me to cross the rivers though. So I'm going to hang out here. I think 11 AM is the latest I could leave here to still get home in time to take my daughter to horse riding. Very important. My husband can do it, but I'd like to be able to take that job off his shoulders if possible. So yeah, 11 AM. We'll get going at 11. And if we can't cross the rivers, I'll just set up a little camp there, and we'll sit there for a while and see if we can get out later in the afternoon, and then if not, it'll be a second night. How exciting! We've got sun! Ha! Ooh! My mum always used to call it a monkey's wedding when it was raining and sunny. She'd say, oh, it's a monkey's wedding. I'm not sure why. Maybe because when it's sunny and raining, it's a ludicrously strange thing, a bit like a monkey's wedding. Oh, it's just a little break in the clouds that the sun's peeking through, but it's going now. I'm actually thinking it's barely raining out there. I think I'm going to put on those trousers even if they're not 100% dry. They'll dry on me. No, they're pretty good. I've made sure that it's just the cuffs at the bottom now that are wet. So let's go outside and have a little bit of a look around. Would start as soon as I come out. I think there's just no getting away from the rain. I absolutely love how imposing the mountains are. Look at this one here looming up over us. I'm pretty sure this one here is Mount Genevieve. There's also Mount Lancelot, and then at the back, behind all the cloud, is the tallest one, Mount Roniston. This valley that we're looking up here is the Crow Valley. So this hut is called Anticrow, and it looks straight up the Crow Valley, up Crow River, and at the end of the valley is Crow Hut. So you've got Anticrow and Crow. To get up the Crow Valley you need to cross the Waimakariri. So this is the Waimakariri River here. It's a braided river. It does divide across a wide river flat. But even so, it gets very swift, very swift. Not necessarily excessively deep, but very swift. So definitely not a walk for when it's raining like this. There you go, that gives you a really good view up the valley. Anticrow Valley. So these mountains around us, in case you're wondering, they're all around about 2,000 metres above sea level. This one here, this big sort of imposing one right behind me here, that's only 1,900 metres. That's Mount Stewart, I've worked out. I walked over here because I wanted to see if I could see further up the valley. If you carry on up the Waimakariri, I'll just turn you so you can see. If you head further up the valley, you go up to Carrington Hut,
And then from Carrington Hut you can split off to, there's Waimak Falls Hut and more. And I think you continue over that way across the Three Passes track, which takes you over 3 major passes in the Arthur's Pass National Park. So this area is full of amazing walks, but not for the faint-hearted. Not for the faint-hearted. These are very serious walks going through avalanche country, obviously crossing a lot of rivers. You need to be experienced, but absolutely beautiful. And I want to show you something, because if you are fairly new to hiking and camping out, especially if you haven't done a lot of tenting, I want to show you the kind of thing that I would do. This spot. Great camping spot. Beautiful view. So if you're new to tent camping and you're a bit nervous about going somewhere and finding a spot, I suggest go to a hut, but take your tent and look around the hut within a minute or two and see if you can find a spot that you can camp with the safety, security, knowledge that you've got the hut just a minute or two away. It means that you can use the toilet there. If you've got really cold, you could go and hunker down there. There's probably going to be other people, so you can even choose a hut like this that's bookable, knowing there's going to be people there, and think, oh, I'm going to come put my tent right on this beautiful little terrace looking out across the Waimak. I can go down and collect water from the water tank. If I'm concerned at all, I can head down to the hut and there's people to help me. So that's what I would do if I was starting out with tent camping in New Zealand. I think there's a track back through the trees, so let's head back and make some breakfast. Got a simple breakfast, just multigrain wheat bix and a mixture of brown sugar, almonds, walnuts, raisins and coconut. I think there might be some chia seeds and maybe cinnamon in there as well. It's a little mix I make up just to make my breakfast a bit more interesting. Somehow I feel like I'm going to need the energy today. I'm not sure what to expect. The main river has gone down considerably, and considering Jordan Stream, which is the one that I'm worried about crossing, even though it's called a stream, it's actually a pretty decent river. That's the one I'm worried about. I have to cross it twice. But Jordan Stream comes off a much smaller catchment area, so it should be a lot lower than the Waimak River. But you just never know, and I don't know what to expect. So I've packed my pack, but in my very top pocket I've got the rain tarp and pegs, because if I need to set up some shelter because I get stuck, I want to be able to do that really quickly.
So last things to do. The fire's burning out. I've just opened the door to encourage the ashes to cool down. I need to put the ashes into the metal bucket, wipe down the bench, and then there isn't a mop. There's no mop for the floor. I might just have to sacrifice one of the cloths because I've been here in the rain. The floor's like a little bit muddy. Some of my footprints are a bit muddy. Maybe it's just me, but I find piles of ashes outside a hut really unsightly. I guess some people don't, but I'm just going to get rid of them. Even though it's extra weight, 2 kilograms, I'm going to take water with me because if I'm stuck at a flooded river, it's going to be very silty. And so the irony is there might be a lot of water, but none for me to drink. I can always tip this out once I get across the rivers. Goodbye, Anticrow Hut. As lovely as it is, I hope I'm not staying here another night. I will see you guys at the first serious river crossing and we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Ah, don't you just love a beautiful day? I feel like the queen of my world. Queen of my world. Oh wow, look at that. So gorgeous. You can see some little waterfalls. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I would love it to clear just enough that you can see those mountains in all their glory. Maybe later. Right, well the first branch of the Jordan stream is upon us. This is the moment of truth. Is this the end of the video? Or just the beginning? Definitely been higher, you can see by the debris. Unfortunately, that's not the main part of it. Yeah, look at this. It was all up through here last night. You can always tell by all the vegetation and how it's been flattened down.
Okay, let's go and see how the main part of this branch is. You can see why I filled up my drink bottle, those drinking pouches. You wouldn't want to drink this water. Whew. All right, this bit's not going to be too bad, but I think the fastest flowing part is right on the other bank. Let's get there. So what I'm looking for here is either parts that are narrow enough for me to jump across, or very wide and shallow spots. Quite deep. You really have to be prepared to search out the best place to cross. Even if it means walking quite far downstream. Usually downstream is best, especially a river like this that's braided, because often it loses its energy and it also disperses. Okay, time to do some searching. Catch up with you soon. Nope. So I'm going to go out there and then across. Because the river splits into three times less strong. Kind of a track, maybe an animal track. Right, the main track goes up there somewhere, but I'm not going to go that way because I'm going to want to be at the lower part of the next part of Jordan Stream. Right, that wasn't too bad. I felt quite safe there. The water was murky but shallow. The nice thing with a hiking pole is you can test it first. You've also got two, what do you call it, like points of balance at any point. So that's the nice thing with having a hiking pole. If I hadn't had a hiking pole, would have got myself a branch off a tree. Well, you know, not a green tree, a fallen branch, and used that for stability. I'm feeling optimistic. optimistic that I'm going home today. What? What in the world? What in the world? Have you guys worked out why I'm so dumbfounded? You were here yesterday. There was water. There was water here. There were 2 parts to Jordan Stream that I had to cross. Where is the other one? That is so strange. I can only guess that as the flow decreases, it only goes down that one. I'll cross across this flat and see. Maybe it's just further on there. Crazy. Wow. If that's the case, then that whole first river that we crossed yesterday must have all been created by the extra rainfall. How cool is that? That is phenomenal. Not even a drop of water on this side. Conditions in New Zealand can change quickly. When the weather moves in, you need to be careful. Here's a shot from yesterday. Here's a shot from today. Wow. Well, the good news is I'm going home. Well, here we are, a day later. The sun is shining and we are back at the little hidey spot that I was hiding in yesterday. I am hunkering down here in this little hiding spot in the hopes that you can hear me over the wind. This time I don't need to hide. There's a little bit of a breeze, but the weather has certainly improved. So it seems I won't be staying another night, which I have to say I'm quite pleased about. I'm looking forward to getting home, seeing the family, seeing Indy. Indy says hi. I'm sorry I couldn't bring her, but you guys understand. She's not allowed. Dogs, Indy's my dog. Dogs are not allowed in national parks in New Zealand, and I really wanted to bring you here because I really wanted to show you that hut. If you enjoyed seeing that hut, have a look at some of my other videos. I'll link one at the end here where I went up to quite a posh hut, quite a fancy one, and I'll also link a video when I went up the up. Ooh. Doesn't look all that amazing now because you can't see the snow, but up on that ridge up there I did a lovely camp recently, so I'll link that for you guys as well. Huge thank you for sticking around to the end, watching the video right the way through. Thank you so much for the support you guys give me, the lovely comments. Big thanks to my 4 new members across Buy Me a Coffee and YouTube channel members. And a big thank you to all of you who have donated something to Indy and I on Buy Me a Coffee and YouTube. Super thanks, so we can afford some treats and to buy some new gear. Amazing. You guys mean so much to me. Thank you. All of you do. Till next time, thanks you guys. See you out there.